NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck your attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast. And I'm looking at a top hat on the other end of the line for the first time ever. So right into it. Who the fuck are you and what do you do?
Well, how you doing? I'm Raymond Adams. I'm a hairstylist, photographer, skydiver. Travel around, go to a lot of events these days, taking lots of pictures.
You're a busy dude.
That's true.
I mean, we've been trying to match this one up for a little while now, and it's only been tough because you've been crisscrossing all around the United States, and I'm still in the middle of it, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot more coming up, but yeah. So when we started talking, I was in Atlanta, and from there went up to Virginia, shooting a wedding, did some other photo shoots and stuff while I was there with some friends. Made my way to Illinois. One of my really best friends just had a little boy, so I had to go meet the little boy, take some pictures of him.
Of course.
And then I made my way across. Now I'm in Colorado, visiting a friend here. Then turns out I had some other random, right when I get here, I realized, oh man, I've got these other friends here. I looked like he's a musician that I hadn't seen or talked to actually in several years, man. I hit him up, and bro, hey, hey, you playing out anywhere? Like, oh, as it turns out, yeah, tomorrow night I'm playing. It was like 10 minutes from where I'm staying. So I ended up getting a bunch of other friends to come and meet, so it was really exciting, to show up there with like 6 people.
Sure, absolutely. Now, is that connections all through skydiving and stuff, or it's just life is just handing you all this stuff?
Yeah, just a couple of them were skydiving. And then other ones just like the musician, it wasn't through skydiving, but I guess a couple of the others were through skydiving. One of
Nice.
them, my old skydiving teammate that I learned
Nice.
to skydive with. Yeah, my buddy, we called him Goat. His name's Derek Griffin. He's not jumping anymore, but yeah, we learned to free fly together back 99, 2000, stuff like that. We had a team Super Freak.
Back when it was starting.
Yeah, we were just figuring it out back then.
Yeah, man.
Everybody makes fun of us buying pizzas.
Yes, the pizza delivery and the big baggy, what were they, the old Brand X suits?
Oh, yeah. I don't even remember those. I ever had that, a Tony suit, stuff back then, some Dekine rags pants, big baggy.
Dekine rags.
Yeah.
Well, so before we'll do what we always do on the podcast, and I'll jump you back all the way to the beginning. How did you get started? Not necessarily just in skydiving, but in anything so-called extreme.
I mean, so it depends on what you call extreme, but anything that I do has to be top notch, 100%. So I'm a hairstylist first, and the company I work with, based in London, they really led the industry in continuing education of hairdressers, and branching out around the world. So I've worked with them for many years as a hairstylist and instructor, traveling around doing hair shows, cutting hair on stage in front of hundreds of people, breaking down haircuts. And then started doing photography to take pictures of hair.
Now, how did that come about? I mean, was that something that you wanted to do from a young age, or was it in the family, or?
No, really, I knew I wanted to do something artistic, working with my hands, things like that. I love customer service, working with people. But no, really, it was pretty cool. I was 19. I needed to reevaluate my career goals. I actually sat down and I made a list of things I really enjoyed, things I wanted to surround myself with, things I thought would be included in a perfect job. And then I made a second list of the opposite, things I wanted to avoid, things that would not be included. And just brainstorming, started filling out all kinds of things. And then I set them aside. And over the course of the next couple or few weeks, I would think about things through my day-to-day routine and go home and add it to the list. And I didn't tell anybody what I was doing because I didn't want anyone else's input. It had to come from me. Because I didn't want somebody to start, oh yeah, you want this or you don't want that, or that sounds great, and I go and add it to the list, but that didn't actually come from me. So yeah, no, I've put a lot of thought into it, and then over the course of the next couple or few weeks, I filled those pages with all kinds of stuff, and then really analyzed them, and everything pointed to I should be doing hair.
Man, that's a pretty mature way to go about things for a 19-year-old.
Yeah. And I've always been proud of that. I love sharing that, especially with younger people, when I meet younger people, tell them about that. And I would, even too earlier on, I would talk about all the things that were on my list, some of the things that were on my list. But then I realized if I'm talking to a younger person that I'm encouraging to possibly do the same thing, well, if I'm going and telling them the things that are on my list, well, that flies in the face of the point that I make, that I didn't want to tell anybody else, what I was doing, because I didn't want their input.
Sure.
So, yeah. So, through times of telling that story, I realized, wait a minute, maybe I should leave those points out, when I'm talking to a younger person that I feel, could really gain a lot from this.
I mean, yeah, because we live in a world where it's not nearly as much that we're being told what we can do, it's that we're being told what we can't do.
Oh, right. Oh, of course. No, and I hate that. Don't tell me what I can't do. Tell me what I can do, or tell me, because I'm like, maybe it's something that I can't do. Just like, wait, well, let's find out how to do that.
Sure. Now, how'd you go about that? I mean, that's I couldn't have been the standard thing that someone of your age decided they wanted to do.
No. Well, then the next step, actually, I knew I wanted to, so I'm going to hair school. I want to be a hairdresser. I want to go to the best school, whatever that is. And I didn't know actually anything about the industry or anything. I figured the best thing to do would be call the salons and ask them what they think, would be the best place to go. So I picked up the Yellow Pages and started calling places out of the Yellow Pages. First thing I did actually though was I called Supercuts. Asked them where to go. And I hear the receptionist, hey, where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to school? She gets back on the phone. Hey, they say Aladdin. I was like, okay, great, thanks. Scratch that one off the list. And it's funny, straight up. No, I straight up did that. My first thing was it was a process of elimination, find out where not to go. Go to school, Aladdin, work at Supercuts. Because I knew I wanted to be doing quality hairdressing.
Sure.
I didn't want to be doing $8 haircuts. I wanted to be anything I do has to be top notch quality. So yeah, and then talked to a lot of people, a lot of things. Tried some of the nicer, more reputable salons, and people were really impressed. That I was calling. They were stoked. They were, giving me all kinds of input, but really even telling me it doesn't matter where you go to school. You're not going to learn anything at school anyway. You just go to work, and then go to work at a good salon. You'll learn more in your first 2 weeks than you will your whole time in school. And for the most part, that's true. And that was pretty discouraging. I don't want to go to school, go through the motions. I want to go learn something.
Sure.
And then I came across Tony and Guy in the phone book, and I'd heard of them. I knew they were already getting pretty well established in Dallas, where I was living at the time. I called them. They'll go to the Tony and Guy Academy. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't know there was one. And yeah, it had just opened a couple months prior to that, 15 minutes from where I was living. First Tony and Guy Academy in the U.S. So I called them immediately. I set up an appointment for the next day. I walked in and I'm like, wow, okay, can I start? And then, so yeah, I was really dedicated with that, doing all that kind of stuff. And then, so fast forward a bit, now getting into skydiving, I was watching stuff on TV, a show called The Extremist back in the 90s, hosted by Gabrielle Reese.
Yep, I remember it.
A lot of different extreme sports and highlighted individuals that really excelled in these extreme sports. And they had Patrick, the guy Don, up there. First, with a partner, they were zip flying, carving circles around each other, flipping over and under, and just moving around. And I'm in awe watching this, like, wow. Because I never knew you could have that much control in free fall.
Right.
I thought skydiving was jumping out of an airplane, deploying a parachute, and landing safely. And I see these guys totally flying their bodies in the air. And I'm just in awe watching this. And then he was out there on the sky surfboard. So Patrick is one that invented, started sky surfing. And I'm watching him do all these flips and tricks and spins and zooming off, things like that. And I'm just in awe watching this. Sitting there with my jaw hanging open, my tongue hanging out in the pool of drool on the floor in front of me. Hey. Wow, it's Gabrielle Reese in her Australian accent. Says anything to launch himself into the thrilling sensation of free fall. Just echoed through my head, free fall, thrilling sensation, free fall. I'm like, I'm there, I'm in. And but then also on the show, they had some other extreme sports. They had Matt Hoffman on the BMX.
Yeah.
BMX rider and stuff. I have lots of friends actually that know him or friends with. I've never met him or anything, but it would be neat to meet him and tell him this too. That I'm watching that and watching him do all the half pipe, go up and these flip, trick, spin, come down, go up the other side, flip, trick, spin, come down. And I'm thinking to myself, how many times has this guy got to smack into that ramp before he learns how to do that trick? And he starts listing off, oh yeah, I broke this tip fib, I broke this femur, I cracked 3 ribs over here, broken collarbone, broke this arm twice, this one once, so many concussions. These are the actual things he was saying. I'm not just pulling it up. And I believe he's about tripled these injuries since then.
Oh yeah.
And then in the interview, the next thing they handed him was mason jar with some floating in it. He's like, oh, is that my spleen? And I'm like, jeez. And I'm thinking back to Patrick on the sky surfboard and thinking about, all right, so if he tries a trick and it doesn't work, he's going to flail, regroup, and try it again.
Yep.
He doesn't have to worry about falling. He's already falling. Right? There's nothing for him to run into. I'm like, that's for me.
Now, where did you... So you watched all this, and obviously you were quite intrigued by it and the idea of not slamming into a fucking half pipe. So yeah. Where'd you go make that first jump?
Yeah, no, so I started calling and I ended up going to Skydive Dallas. I was in Dallas at the time. Yeah, I went to Skydive Dallas and I didn't go to do a tandem. I didn't go to do a jump. No, I went to become a skydiver.
So you knew before you'd ever made that first jump? Oh,
yeah. Definitely, I went to become a skydiver because anything I do, like I go, and so it wasn't just to check it out. So many people they go do a jump and saw something and then like, oh, I like this, and it develops into something. But no, I went right into AFF.
Now, was it what you thought it was going to be, or were there a couple of moments where you're like, fuck me, this is I bit off something here?
No, I guess the only difference was from what I thought it was going to be to what not. I'm seeing stuff on that, the X Games, things like that, with the sky surfing and stuff. So I thought that's, stuff like that was what the sport was all about. So I went out to become a sky surfer. And then randomly, actually, at Skydive Dallas at the time, we had 2 X Games competitors there. So yeah, it was Amy and Gary Haas, a team, and then the Dan Drury and Rob Chickering,
Nice.
team. So yeah, it was really awesome. Get out there with those guys. But no, I went out and but I had a lot of other stuff going on at the time. I literally only made 30 jumps for my first 2 years in the sport. Right after I went and did the AFF, my first jump, and my car died. So I kept getting in all kinds of trouble. It'd always be like I get pulled over, I get all these tickets, things like that. I was always in trouble, all kinds of stuff. So when my car died, I moved to within walking distance of work. I went 3 years without a car, and I finally got out of trouble. I got out of trouble. I'm probation. I'm like, okay, good. And then and every time I went to go skydive, I had to get one of my WFO friends to drive me out there.
Sure.
So I'm having to pay for gas, I have to buy breakfast, lunch, I buy beer, all these things. I basically, doubled the cost of each my jump. So I go out and I do one AFF jump a month, and then go do the next one. And then once I got through AFF, then it was going out doing a recurrency jump and maybe a couple other jumps. And then next time I go back out, do a recurrency jump, a couple other jumps. And then I went 2.5 years without jumping at all.
Wow.
And during that time, I started doing all kinds of other stuff. So with photography, we do all of our salon photo shoots and art team shoots, and we bring in models, have these photographers shoot them and stuff. And I was really inspired by all of that and to start doing photography. So I started working with a photographer on the side, had some connections with a couple of modeling agencies and a modeling school. So I was doing hair for his photo shoots. And we had a makeup artist. So we're a 3-person team doing all these shoots and stuff. And my whole purpose of doing it so I could watch and learn from him.
Sure.
Doing that. And this is back in the late 90s. And he, with film, everything. And so he even got me involved in the dark room, doing some stuff like that. It was really fun.
Nice.
So finally I got a camera, 35 millimeter Minolta thing, a couple studio lights, started playing with that. And it was right at the same time that I got recurrent in skydiving. I went out and I just went hardcore in skydiving. I made 300 jumps my first year back.
Nice.
Jumping 1 day a week on Sundays.
Nice.
Working on Tuesday through Saturday. And so I realized right away that I was allowed one expensive hobby. So photography went the wayside as I focused on skydiving, going hardcore into that. And it was in 98, late 98, I met the Flyboys. And so it's funny, I talked to some of the younger jumpers and stuff, all these things. They don't even know necessarily the history of our sport.
I know.
The Flyboys being the first free fly team, and there's maybe even debate on, so Olaf Zipser, the father of free fly. So I don't know necessarily the thing. I don't want to get into the debate or anything like that. But so let's give Olaf Zipser that. Okay? But we can definitely call the Flyboys the first free fly team.
Yeah.
And they're definitely pioneers, all the stuff.
It's funny that you say that the newer generation doesn't know a lot of the history. I got a firsthand example of that when I was flying out in Dubai, and over the years I've become good friends with Omar Al-Hijalan, who of course was out there shredding with Olav. And I'll never forget, Omar was saying something to a group of jumpers that I'm standing there listening to, and he has to go catch a load, so he runs away, and one of the newer jumpers is all, so who is that? Oh, fuck, man.
Yeah, right?
No.
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, man, I have a great story I want to mention in a bit about with Olaf.
Nice.
Or with Omar, rather.
Yeah,
But,
nice.
yeah.
But yeah, please go ahead. So you met the Flyboys, which, I mean,
Yeah, I met the Flyboys.
they were
I showed up
awesome.
to this event. I knew who they were. I was a bit intimidated.
Sure.
As I pull up to this thing, what are these guys going to be like? And just as I'm pulling up, getting out of the car, my buddy Dusty Smith, Team Pimp. These guys are Chris Biala and Dusty Smith, Team Pimp, people in magical positions. They taught me to free fly. These guys were amazing. They were talents. They were the shit. So Dusty's, Raymond, come here, come meet the Flyboys. This is right in the parking lot, right when I first pull up. And I walk over, I'm like, oh, these guys.
Yeah,
Wow, you just tell they're just chill. They're just like us. I can just tell from that moment. You're like bros for life.
yeah, man.
And this is true, now it holds true. And they're so cool. Most of the weekend was weathered out. So we're hanging out with them, partying and stuff at one of my buddies' apartments, watching some of their videos and stuff. And I'm in awe watching their videos. And I'm thinking to myself that no one is going to get to that kind of level of doing anything 1 day a week. I don't care
Right,
how much I was banging it out, I did 300 jumps my first year back, but
right.
jumping 1 day a week. That no one's going to get that kind of level. And then the next part, I realized with them that it was a lifestyle. Whereas
Sure.
for me, up until that point, skydiving was an activity that I participated in,
Right.
where I went out on Sunday mornings, banged out as many jumps as I could, and then went home. So after that, actually, I switched my schedule in the salon to start working Monday through Thursday, giving me Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to skydive.
Sure.
And I started spending nights at the drop zone, and then it became a lifestyle.
Sure. Well, and it's
So
funny that
it's
you
like,
say that because it was those exact guys too, right along with Olav and Omar, that showed me that it was a lifestyle as well. Because it was the
yeah.
same thing. I started the first turbine drop zone I ever jumped at was Paris Valley, which is
Oh,
where the
awesome.
Flyboys were,
When was
and
that?
what's that?
When was that?
That would have been 90, 98, 97, 98.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
hell yeah, same
same
time.
time frame. And when
That's
I
awesome.
actually met the Flyboys, met them, they were actually in Las Vegas where I was working as an instructor in the flyaway tunnel. So I met them as a bunch of goofy guys that we couldn't control that were just bouncing off the walls, having a blast. And then I
Yeah.
went to the drop zone and met them, and I'm like, oh, now I get it. I get it. It's a lifestyle. These guys,
Yeah.
this is what they do. This is
Yeah.
them. And it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it was a real light bulb moment. And that's kind of when I was like, oh, I can actually be a skydiver, not just do this for fun.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I always talk about that when I talk about them. I talk about meeting the Flyboys changed my life.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had an experience one time where I'm somewhere, some younger jumpers, there were people in Mike Ortiz, they're in the group. I
Yep.
mentioned about the Flyboys, and I start to say something, and then Mike kind of steps in to interrupt me. I think he was worried that I was going to be going on about how maybe a lot of other people would be, oh my God, these guys, sky gods, da da da, this kind of things like that. And he didn't, he would feel awkward being there in that situation. But then he realized, later on, it's like, no, my story about meeting the Flyboys is how they literally changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's because of those reasons that we mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny. You can say that the Flyboys changed your life, and I can actually say one of the Flyboys saved my life, literally.
Really?
Without going really long into the story, Fritz was at the drop zone in Mexico when I got a gun put in my face, and it was him and his girlfriend at the
Oh, I thought it
time.
was going to be a skydiving thing. Right? Yeah.
I mean, it kind of was, but when I say he helped save my life, I mean fucking literally. Like I had a gun in my face at a drop zone in Mexico, and it was Fritz and his girlfriend being there that kind of kept him from pulling the trigger.
Good.
Yeah, man. So hey, we have a shitload in common, man. The Flyboys drastically altered our lives in positive ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's something you mentioned the other day, And then you mentioned, your time in Dubai, stuff like that. I have lots of good friends, that spent a lot of time out there. Junior and Nicole.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're really awesome. I did Nicole's hair for their wedding and photographed the wedding.
Nice.
Like
Beautiful
that.
photographs, by the way. I've seen all of them. I was supposed to be there, but couldn't get out of Dubai.
Yeah, no, it was a great wedding. And then the party that ensued afterward. Yeah,
Of course.
2-3 days, big mountain house.
Of course it was. Again, I got to see the pictures. I didn't get to partake, but I actually, we would take a group of us would go from Dubai, and Junior and I were actually partners in a couple of Airbnbs in Bali. And so we'd go to Bali, and we got our post-wedding party out of the way, probably 6 months later, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I
hey,
did a couple days before their wedding. I'm sure you've seen that one. It ended up being on a T-shirt on a jersey that Sunshine Factory produced. I was able to present to Nicole whenever they come back from Dubai. Because the day before the wedding, we did a jump where the guy that did the ceremony and the best man were on their bellies. Nicole hanging from the hybrid and
Yeah,
Junior on top.
which
That was
is
fun.
absolutely awesome. Yeah, I haven't gotten to catch up with Junior in quite a while, although he and I are supposed to do another catch up podcast because he was actually my very first guest on this show.
Oh, kick ass.
Yeah,
Kick
man.
ass.
Yeah,
Good choice.
he was quite a regular because obviously we were working together in Dubai. So usually every 4 or 5 months I'd have him on and we'd talk about stuff that was going on. And he was actively going around and doing a lot of the competition stuff and doing a lot of record stuff. And actually I just re-released an episode with Omar and Junior just this last week. So I've had him on a million times. But so back to you. You started 3 days a week. You're cranking at the drop zone. You're using the Flyboys has been a great motivator for you. So how does it start taking off for you?
Well, yeah. So at that point, I'm going off. I'm doing 900 jumps a year at that point. Just working or just not working in the sport, just paying
which is insane.
Myself. Yeah. So most people, anybody that has that kind of jump number is usually working in the sport. I made enough money in the salon that I could afford to just go out and play. And I didn't want to get into that trap, because on the weekends when the cool kids were there, I wanted to go out and fly with cool kids.
Sure.
I say the cool kids, you know what I mean? Probably, just the advanced jumpers, the progressing the sport, learning to free fly, putting stuff together, going on big group jumps, tracking dives, whatever. And my friends that worked in the sport couldn't come play with us. It's like, hey, come on, we're coming and doing this. Boom, it's like, I got to go throw this rogue or I got to go shoot this video. They couldn't come play with us. Not to knock that, because I have some friends that are really dedicated to that and giving people their once in a lifetime jump out of an airplane, the best experience in their life, so respect to that.
Sure.
But yeah, I wanted to go fly with the cool kids. And so now just going off, doing all that. And what's great, fast forward to now, being a skydiving photographer, doing all this stuff, this is the closest to working in the sport that I've ever done.
Sure.
But I get to go fly with cool kids. I've got the coolest job in the sport at all. I go to these events, I go to the boogies, even the LOs, right? They've got incredible, that's a great rock star slot, the LO at a big boogie.
Absolutely.
They've got to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. They get their group of people together, get everybody manifested, plan, organize the skydive, do the dirt dive, do the walkthrough, put it in the mock-up, walk through it again, do all the stuff, go do the jump, get up, get down, debrief, and do it all over again. Because ultimately, for the drop zone, their job is keeping asses on the plane.
Sure.
Keeping people motivated and jumping. My slot, I show up whenever I do. I'm not there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can't be a slack ass about it, obviously, right?
Right.
But you're not going to see me there at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I show up, I go jump with who I want to jump with. I do what I want to do. Like if we want to go do a two-way, let's go. If you and your buddy are doing a two-way, I go jump and fly around you guys doing a two-way. Then I'll go find what the LOs are doing, move around, and I got to spread the love. I can't just stick with one group doing the thing. And I want to make sure, I want everybody to have a Raymond Adams photo from the event.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about that too is there's so many different levels to it all, and you've got the cool kids and you've got the people that are the badass load organizers that are out designing and executing these kick-ass jumps, but there's also the people that are coming up and learning their way that want to feel like a cool kid as well, and to be able to go out and jump and have fun with somebody like you that's going to get that awesome snap is incredible.
Oh, yeah. No, I love those experiences too. I remember once at Scott Chicago, they were doing a thing, and they were all the LOs and photographers and stuff that had a little bio where they were introducing us one night. And one of the things I talked about was specifically that how cool it is to go and jump with all, the top skydivers in the sport, doing all these other things. But there's nothing more rewarding than going and jumping with that new jumper.
Sure.
And doing that stuff and getting that shot with that new jumper, because the experienced jumpers doing these big waves, things like that, they see the stuff, it's so cool, they dig it, but it's old hat, to them. But you get that younger jumper and inspire them to go out and get to that point and see how much it means to them. That's just, there's not much more. Because I remember when I was a younger jumper, so
Oh
things
yeah.
like that.
You
And
know,
like,
I had the coolest kind of mix between both of those, in that I was a longtime tandem instructor, and I would get this buzz off of taking people on their first jump, or an AFF instructor that would get a buzz out of watching someone kind of overcome those hurdles. But
yeah,
as a result, I didn't do the kind of fun jumping that you did. I didn't get to go out and really bust out the crazy fun jumps, and so my progression in free flying was slower and stuff. And cut to years later, I'd be going out and doing a jump with somebody like Junior, as an extremely experienced skydiver myself, but
yeah,
seeing him recognize the buzz that I was getting off of pulling something I hadn't done before,
oh
or a free
yeah,
fly jump that just went really well, and knowing what he was thinking as he's looking back at me looking like a student with this goofy grin on my face. And it was a
yeah,
really
yeah.
fun thing to literally be on both sides of the coin at the same time, to be experienced and a student of the sport all at once. It was really fun.
Well, and out of that experience too, I remember as his experience on that would be, getting down where he's doing all these other jumps, doing the stuff, but then seeing that even during the jump, seeing the look on your face, seeing the shit, knowing when you got the shit, when you fly in, when you get that dock, when you do that transition together, real eagle, whatever, and just knowing how stoked you are about it, just that'll be one of those kind of jumps that, especially with somebody that is experienced like this, that can add even an extra element to
Oh
to
yeah,
see
yeah.
how it's experienced to be that fired up like a student again.
Well, that was the thing too. It was actually Junior that did it, because I hadn't jumped in a couple of years. I'd been too busy flying, and I had stepped away from the instructor thing, and it was actually at an event in Dubai, and we had a down day, and as a pilot, I wasn't flying that day, and he just looked over at me casually and went, "You want to go make a jump?" And I got butterflies. I'm like, oh, fuck,
Yeah,
skydive? Oh shit. And went out and made that jump. And of course I was just beaming ear to ear. And then in one skydive with Junior, I was back to being a fun jumper, or I should say I was becoming a fun jumper again. And it was fucking amazing.
right. No, and that's exactly that point. Because then all of a sudden you're inspired, you're fired up, because we get in our pattern, we get in our, and so yeah, to have something to trigger that, get you
Yeah.
ready. Oh my God, no,
Yeah.
let's do it again, do it again.
Hell yes. Now, when did you decide you were going to start mixing your passion for skydiving with photography?
Well, so that was later on. There was a whole different thing that kind of went with in between that. So hardcore in the sport, going off, doing 900 jumps a year, working Monday through Thursday, paying for my jumps myself. And then I realized, you know what? I just wanted to be with these people. I love the skydivers. I love the community. I love being on the drop zone. I just want to be there. So actually, I left the salon. I left my job. I left my clientele I built up over 10 years that afforded me to
Wow.
be able to do 900 jumps a year. I got rid of everything, that which I couldn't give away, I threw away. I loaded my convertible with what I needed to survive. And I took off. I went traveling around the country, living in a tent, cutting hair on the drop zones to make my way around.
Wow.
And
Dude.
for a year and a half, I did that, went full circle around the country 1.5 times during that, knowing that I wasn't going to even be able to make near the jump numbers that I was making before,
Sure.
because I wasn't going to have that cash flow coming in. And then also when I was at the drop zone, rather than jumping my ass off, I would be hustling to find some clients to cut their hair,
Right.
so I could make my way to the next spot. But that didn't matter because it wasn't about the jump numbers at that point. It was about just being, with you guys,
Sure.
And
No,
I love that so much.
I
So for a
completely
year and a
agree
half
with
doing
that.
then at the Chicks Rock movie, it's got up Elsinore. I met a girl that had come from England to participate in the event. It was love at first sight. She canceled her flight back and stayed with me, and we traveled around together. I ended up moving to Atlanta. Guys I worked with in salons in Dallas had moved to Atlanta and opened Tony Guy salons there. They wanted me to move with them at the time, but I was too busy skydiving at the time, working Monday through Thursday, doing a new moving to a new city, opening a brand new salon. I wasn't going to be able to live the lifestyle I'd grown accustomed to.
Sure.
So anyway, I moved there, but at this point, then I'm all focused in the salon. And actually, I went for a decade of only doing 30 jumps a year.
Wow.
So going from 900 a year, to 30 jumps a year for all this time, because I was focused in the salon at this point, working 6 days a week and just barely getting out, all that. And I started doing Photoshop. So I had some friends, or excuse me, we were doing our salon photo shoots and our team shoots. I had other photographers shooting them. They'd send me their raw images, and I was doing all the retouching and all this kind of stuff. Well, after a couple of years of doing that, finally, I'm like, you know what? I just need to get a camera. I'm finishing the photos. I'm bringing in models and doing things. I'm finishing the photos. I need to have a camera and just be shooting them. So I got my camera for that. And then so as it relates to skydiving, so before I tapered off the sport, I got myself to a skill level that I could go to any boogie and jump with the top free flyers and come on and fly head down and dock, turn points, things like that. I know I got my camera. Well, I could go out to these events. Sure, I could go jump with these guys, but I'm a bit rusty, and the sport's progressing.
Sure.
The wind tunnels coming of age and all this kind of stuff. So they'd be waiting for me, come on, but I can put my camera on my own. I can sure shit fly around the outside and take pictures.
Sure.
And then my buddy Eric Darren, a really good friend of mine, had started VFS four-way, at the time VRW four-way, because the only free fly competitions that there were, vertical competitions, was like the three-way artistic. That's very subjective, and it's,
Sure.
How tight did they stay together, how visually appealing it was, difficulty of maneuver. Well, with the BRW, it's objective, did you score the point or didn't you? Did you go before or didn't you? And it had just gotten to the point that there were enough people that were proficient enough in flying vertical to even do four-way.
Sure.
So they're just working on this. So this is back in 06. It was the first year that that was a discipline in nationals. So at a party, a surprise birthday party for my wife, Eric sees me with my camera. Said, "Hey, you want to come jump with us? Take pictures of our team training for nationals." I'm like, "Wait a minute." So based on what it was, when it was, and who it was, my response was, "Sure, I'll go take a cover shot." And so sure enough, so I'd had my camera for 6 weeks. And my first time to ever submit anything to the magazine was a cover shot.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I love telling people that, but then I have to disclaimer tell the rest of the story that it's based on what it was, when it was, and who it was. So it's all part of the whole thing. But at the same time, there's a reason that I was the one that was tapped to go and take the photo. But I definitely felt like whoever took that photo, it was destined to be a cover shot.
Of course. I mean, dude, you've made some really bold choices.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. It's like I don't like full blast. Apply full blast, freaking go for it. Like it's one of the things actually. I remember when I first decided to leave Dallas, to leave my job and go travel and do all this. My grandmother was coming in the salon to get her hair cut and everything, and she's always been the worrywart. What are you gonna do? So I'm planning on telling her about what I'm thinking about doing, and I'm ready for her antics. I'm ready for her questions. What are you going to do about this? How are you going to handle this? So I'm trying to prepare myself, anticipating what these questions will be, so I can have answers for that. I started telling her what I'm thinking about doing. She blew my mind before I got just a few words out of my mouth. She stopped. She grabbed my arm. She said, "Go, go." I'm like, "What?" She said, "Yeah. If you have a desire to do that and you have a means to make it happen, then by all means go. You don't want to get old. What if I would have taken that chance? What if, and that's something that comes with, experience and, age and stuff." And I was like, wow.
Well, and your grandmother, I'm sure, was probably about the same age as mine. They came from a generation where you didn't go for it. You towed the line. You did what you were supposed to do. And the ones with some foresight sounds like your grandmother knew to tell you, fucking do it. If it's going to make you happy, do it.
Yeah. Because that's definitely a big, bold, decision, to leave a job and a clientele that took me 10 years to build up to be able to do 900 jumps a year that I was paying for myself, to leave.
Yeah, man.
And go. And zero regrets, and it's so many things in my life that have happened, since then that
I'm sure the only people that regret that decision are the people whose hair you cut.
And there's that. Yeah.
I mean, when I used to have enough hair to be worth cutting, losing a hairdresser that knew what the hell you liked was fuck. You'd rather give up a kidney.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I remember it's my first announcement that I've been thinking about for a while, and finally got to the point where there was this day, some things had happened, and now it's time. I walk in the salon one day, I'm finishing my first client, and as I'm finishing her up, my neighbor comes in, he's setting up his station next to me, getting ready to work. I was like, hey, Kyle, come here. I want you to meet somebody. Kyle, this is Deborah. Deborah, this is Kyle. I think you'll like him. He's a great stylist. And they both looked at me, like, what? What? And that was my first announcement. That was my first announcement to anyone. That's how that went down. And yeah, no, that was just.
Now, did you know you were going to do that, or did the mood just strike you right then, or did you know in advance you were going to do that?
No, I've been thinking about it for a year, and then some different things, and it's kind of waiting for the right time. Then something happened. Tried making a connection with someone. Was wondering to see where that's going, but then that didn't, and all of a sudden it's like, no, now's the time.
They must have thought you were nuts, especially back then, because skydiving was still very fringe, man. I mean, it wasn't something you ran off to go do. It didn't have the almost F1 feel that skydiving kind of seems to nowadays, and it certainly didn't have it didn't scream future.
Right. But to me, it wasn't about that. It was just about the freedom, the lifestyle, things like that.
Man.
But there was some of the F1, stuff going on because I was, we were getting into, I was doing free flying and going out and doing some of the, some of the best of the best, doing that sort of thing, and getting into swooping, flying high performance canopies, canopy piloting. So I was in the early days of that.
Yeah, man.
So got in. I remember in the beginning seeing some things and oh no, I'll never do that. Next thing you know, here I am. But yeah, my buddy Jim Slayton, met up with him. There's a crazy thing. Let's have you mention this real quick. I mentioned him. So I showed up at Skydiving Houston for the first time, January 2000, and I see this guy, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's. And he saw me. He's like, I know you. I'm like, no way, JP. He went by JP back then. It's James Paul Slayton, Boys Ranch. So when we were 16, 17, we were at this boys ranch together in Waco, Texas.
No shit.
Yeah, it was a placement for wayward teens and stuff. And there's 40 kids on the ranch. We worked on the ranch, went to school, took classes and stuff, lived in these different home units, 2 kids in each room. He was my roommate.
No shit.
Yeah, he was my roommate and we were bros. We did all this stuff together. I left the ranch on a break. I got some other opportunity for something and ended up never going back. So I wasn't able to maintain contact with anyone or anything. So here it was, or 11, 12 years later. And I show up at Skydiving Houston and I see this guy. No fucking way. My roommate from the boys ranch. Not only are we both skydiving, we're both hardcore in skydiving. I had just over 1,000 jumps at the time. He had almost 2,000 jumps.
Yep.
We're both into free flying, which free flying was in its adolescence, at best at that point. We were both on teams. He had the Orbit Punks at Skydive Houston. I had Team Super Freak at Skydive Dallas. We were both into swooping. Swooping was very early on. And we were both organizing events. We were both in the process of organizing our first event.
Oh, dude, that's wild.
Everything each other said. No way, get out, me too. No way, me too. So,
well, and for any of the younger jumpers listening, if you don't know the name Slayton, fucking look it up. Man. Yeah, there's some history there.
Oh, absolutely. And I got more history with him than, like as you just heard, than a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're still bros, I still chat with him time to time. It's been a while since I've actually seen him. Hopefully maybe I'll see him here soon. But we started organizing some swoop competitions there at Skydive Houston back in 2000. Had some smaller competitions and stuff, and that's where I met, a lot of the other big guys, in sport. Things progressed. In 2001, we ended up moving out to California, Team Extreme, and starting the Pro Swoop Tour out there in Paris. My first time in Paris, June 2001, for the first Pro Swoop Tour competition, and that's where I met Jay Maletsky. And he's amazing. So he's one of my best friends.
Nice.
Love that guy. So yeah, doing so much stuff with that. These are part of the things as well, leaving the salon. It's like, hey, because I just want to be involved in this stuff, going out and
Sure.
free fall, swooping, doing all that.
Now, would you have been out in the, you said PST. Did you go out to PST heading out towards like Wildwood? Did you do the Jersey route?
That was right when that was the second competition that I missed. So that was in '03.
Yeah.
So I was doing all those things in '01 and '02, doing all the big competitions there, and traveling around. I was even I did the Red Bull Blade Raid.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. They set up a swoop course down a Black Diamond ski slope, Elk Meadow Ski Resort in Utah. They flew us up in a helicopter and we jumped out, flew our parachutes down the side of the mountain.
Which
I still
is
have
so
like,
ahead of its time.
oh yeah, and no, and it's crazy too how we thought that was extreme. That was really extreme, flying our parachutes. And now I see my friends, these wingsuits grinding these cracks in between these rocks and shit like that. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, right? I mean, it's funny because I'm sure you feel the same way as me. I mean, we've been in the sport for quite some time, but I still feel like a kid in the sport. I really do. I still have this this joy and this awe about skydiving. But the fact of the matter is, we're becoming the wise old sages. We're the guys that have been around a long time now, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, true. But and I still get so fired up. I get certain things back on some jump, get down, and I've had people make comments about how much they appreciate the fact that I'm still I got to do some sick jump, do some old thing. Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and the cool thing too is, especially with me not jumping nearly as much, I still have such an incredible appreciation for what's being done that even if I can't do it, I'm fucking stoked that other people are.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I'm going around. I'm very privileged, going to these events and jumping with these organizers, doing these things, and it's a great thing too because I'm all focused on stills. They see my still, I get that shot. I'm all about getting that shot, and I'm there, and I get the shot. They don't need to see the video. Video's too telling. They don't need to know how much I failed to get that shot. They're all looking at the group. They're doing their thing. They don't know. They think I can fly. I was there the whole time. Kidding me?
It's funny you say that because I shot a bunch of video too, and I had a buddy years back shoot outside video of me shooting video, and he showed me the video, and I was fucking horrified because I looked like an idiot. I just looked like a train wreck. The body positions I was getting into, all the random shit that I was doing, it was the least pretty flying that I had ever seen. But then you'd watch my video of the jump.
You haven't seen me flying.
Yeah, but it's all in what they see in the picture frame, right?
No, right, exactly.
That's all that matters. What was the same with me? Because you watched the video that I shot, and the video was great, but the shit that I had to do to get it was just ridiculous.
Oh no, yeah, no, I've had that where I've been like some angle dive going on, and the guy's leading on his belly, and everyone's following him, and I'm out in front of him, down below, underneath, looking back, getting that shot. It's like the primo shot, and then he flips around on his back and sees me and busts out laughing. I've literally had that where the organizer see me and bust out laughing. I'm probably like in a daffy, one arm up, one out, and all kinds of, which is not anything like you would, coach someone to, because I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. But what, I was there. But I'm there. I'm in that friggin' slot,
Absolutely.
School. I was even profiled in parachute a few years back, man. That was an incredible honor. One of the questions they asked, actually, what's your most embarrassing moment in free fall? I was like, well, let's just say anytime somebody sees me flying. So I'm better behind the camera.
Sure. Now, when you're going out to do a jump where you're aiming for shots, are you scripting that jump prior to, or is it just an in the moment? I need to get over there to get this angle.
I mean, that depends. That depends. Sometimes it is just kind of moving around. But if it's a specific jump and I've got some idea and I know where I want to be to get a specific shot and that sort of thing. So I am planning on that. And there's a difference too, where people refer to me as a videographer. I'm like, no, but I'm a photographer. Oh, it's the same. Well, I mean, it's not really, Sure, I have a video camera. Most times I remember to hit record. Sometimes I even watch it.
Sure.
Less than 5% of my video I even watch. But then it's good to have because every now and again I get that one that I have to check out that video.
Sure.
But even so, moving around, say on an angle dive or something, if I was flying for video, I might be zooming around, carve around this, doing that. But I'm flying for stills. I'm trying to get right at that one slot to move around and get where I can see everybody,
Yep.
where everybody's in it. I get their faces, I get the things where nobody's eclipsed by someone else, that sort of thing, you know. So there's that difference, you know, to be flying for stills rather than flying for video.
And that's unusual nowadays too, because I mean, come on, we're in a TikTok, YouTube world now
Oh
where it's
yeah,
all
yeah.
about that, 15-second video, and it's not necessarily about that beautiful still shot.
Right. So yeah, and still though, you know, there's not been a 15-second video on the cover of Parachutist magazine.
Never will be. So moving forward, where do you see yourself going? I mean, right now you're literally traveling the whole country and visiting people and having an amazing time. What does the future hold for Raymond Adams?
You know, and that's a question, you know. I'm just so finally, you know, like my wife and I had separated several years ago. Finally, the divorce was finalized earlier this year. As part of the reason now, which I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop with our separation and everything to be able to do this. And so I've got a lot of things going on. And so honestly, yeah, there's some, you know, soul searching, you know, going on, finding myself. I don't see myself settling down doing anything anytime within the next year, at least. And so just going around wherever I can and getting, you know, more active into shooting, you know, these events and going out. And I'm shooting all kinds of stuff. You know, I just did some portraits of one of my buddies and his daughter yesterday. And
Nice.
whenever we're done here, I'm about to go out. My buddy that was performing the other night, he and his wife and his two beautiful daughters. I'm about to go do some family portraits with them.
Nice.
And it's a really cool thing, you know. So I'm just going around doing whatever, visiting friends, doing things. And then here, and I pick up some work here and I pick up some work there. I go and shoot this, I go and shoot that. And it's great, you know, make my way around. It's my mom's birthday today. I'm about to call her when we get off of this.
Nice.
Wish her happy birthday. And one of her presents, basically, will be me letting her know that I'll be showing up for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I've already known this for at least a couple of weeks that would be there for Thanksgiving, but she doesn't know this yet.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So she'll be really excited, you know.
Oh, hell yeah. Now, are you
Mom's
still cutting hair while you're doing all this?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I have I have as much passion for hairdressing as I do for skydiving. You know,
That's awesome.
Photography and all the stuff because I feel my whole purpose of being really is to make people feel great about themselves. And so it started off with the hairdressing, you know, and I cut someone's hair. We give somebody that great haircut where they look in the mirror and this is what I've been going for. This is what I wanted to see, you know, and they stand an inch taller. They feel more confident, you know, they're like,
Sure.
great, you know. And then part of the reason I get into photography, you know, because that was all just so temporary, you know, and
Sure.
that picture can last forever. And then when I get that shot, I get that picture of somebody in their element, doing their thing, whatever their thing may be, you know. And I really like just capturing moments. I like the spontaneous, candid shots, things like that, you know. And somebody,
Sure.
you know, whether it be DJ, whether it be skydiving, whether, you know, whatever. And I get that shot, and it's the best photo they've ever had taken of themselves, you know, and they love it. It's going to be their profile pic for however long to come,
Right.
because I've captured them in a way that they want to be, how they want to be seen, how
Sure.
they want to have themselves put forward, and you know, and it makes them feel great about themselves. And it's like boom, and it's so rewarding, and this is the stuff that drives me. You know, it's making people feel great, and like I'm not driven by dollars. You know, this is one of the
Sure.
reasons I'm just kind of like making my way along. You know, day to day, but I'm making it, and it's awesome. You know, and it's so much. Those other things are so much more rewarding.
Sure. That was always one of the things that I think I enjoyed most about the skydiving community was we all spent so damn much money to be able to go out and jump that we didn't have money to do things outside of making those jumps. So we made the best of not having money when we were back on the ground. And those led to some of the most amazing times I've ever had, hanging out in a shitty ass trailer in the backwoods of a drop zone with a bunch of broke people that were scraping together, to have some half-ass barbecue and the greatest time ever.
And that was I was just about to say, the best friggin' time of our lives,
Yeah.
Well, especially early on, you're thinking anything that you would spend on something else, especially when we were younger in the sports, like, wait, this is, I could buy this, but that's like 4 jumps. I could get this, I'm spending money on this, but man, that's 3 jumps. I could do, oh man. So it didn't matter about these other things because the only thing that mattered was going, man, I'd shudder to think about how much money I spent on the sport.
No. I couldn't even give it a second thought. And it's kind of funny looking back.
I have a nice house.
Yeah, right. It turns out that all the money that I spent on rigs and jumps and all that was basically my ticket to enter the community of skydiving, right? I mean, that was the entry fee for joining the coolest fucking club I could have ever imagined.
And it's a private club too, because outside of the sport, who gives a shit? No one.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a couple of the world champions in different disciplines on a number of times, and you always ask them, obviously, this is not the Olympics. This is not going to get you on Conan unless you're, the Soul Flyers. This is just a bunch of fucking skydivers, Why are you doing it? And they're like, purely for the love.
Jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a world record jump and all this stuff, man. And in fact, actually, one of the biggest things I was able to shoot, it was incredible. It's just an honor. It was a vertical sequential world record, 2.77 way. We had 4 planes flying in formation, come in, build the first formation, break, turn, intern, and then build the second formation, all in one skydive, man. And watching that build in front of my face.
Yeah, absolutely. Epic to the nth degree. And I think most jumpers out there have had an opportunity to see something in front of them that they just could not have ever otherwise imagined.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, a brief I'm going to tell you this in a moment, but so after doing that thing, I get down, I have a friend and she's a producer for CNN, and she helped me put together a press pack with that. And just, doing things, keep it short and sweet, the bullet points, blah, 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 make it interesting. And so to send this out to some of the media things, some of the top, news opinion organizations, whatever, out there.
Sure.
Some of the local news channels, in Chicago, because it's done at Skydive Chicago and all this thing. And so, I put together this awesome thing with all that. And I send out to all these different things. You know how much response I got back from that? 0.
Yeah,
absolutely 0. But it's one of those things. So that's disappointing. But we don't do it for that, obviously.
No.
So you think about other sports, like I'm not into basketball. I've never been into basketball, right? But I know who LeBron James is,
Sure.
and things like that. I can mention other sports and other names and things like that, and people can agree on things like that. But then, I talk to other people outside of the sport. Rook Nelson, who's that?
Right.
You talk about world champions and this, that, and the other. They have no idea. They've never heard the names. It doesn't. But obviously, that's not why we do it. We're not driven by fortune and fame.
Well, that's always one of the things that made it even extra special for me. Back when it was really popular for everybody to wear the closing pin necklaces, if you'd see someone in the real world with a closing pin necklace, didn't matter if you knew this person or not. It was, dude, big fucking
family.
Hugs. Instantly family, because you were a member of a tribe that nobody knew about. Just the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. But all right, so I'm doing a thing. I want to get back to a bit. Because earlier you had mentioned Omar.
Yeah, please.
So back my last jump of 99, my first time out to Eloy, Y2K. And so I'm just getting to the point in my free flying to be able to be there.
Sure.
and so much struggle, or I'm like, I see the point, I'm trying to, so just getting to the point of being there. So here we are, sunset jump on the 30th. We didn't jump on the 31st. We were partying all day on that.
Yeah, yeah.
So sunset jump on the 30th. We're going out full load of free flyers and otter. I'm second to last out of the plane. So by the time I get out of the plane, that base is 1,000, 1,500 feet away. It's so far gone, and so I just got to just punch it out, just And the base was a 6-way round. They free flew the exit, actually, a 6-way round, 3 guys flying tubes, flying head down with tubes attached to their feet. And then 3 people filled in between them, closing it to a 6-way round. And the 3 that filled in between were Chris and Dusty of Team Pimp, that taught me to free fly, and Rook. And I mentioned I'm second to last out of the plane because Rook was last. And he's in the base. Yeah. And so I get out, I'm diving with all my might, just dive to get down there. Got down, level, throw everything out. Brakes. And I sunk maybe a body length below, maybe a body length above, and then boom, on level. Stoked right there, about 10 feet from it, ready to move in and take my dock. And then here comes Omar in a stand, carving circles around it. I'm like, oh! So watching this beautiful thing at sunset, this 6-way round with the tubes and my bros and all the stuff, in there, and seeing Omar carving around it, just in awe. And we get down in the packing area, and everyone's gathered around the big screens, watching that. And I'm talking to my buddy through my experience with that. And I mentioned how, and I was about to come in and take a dock, and then Omar comes carving around it. And he's standing just in front of me, overhears me. He turns around and looks at me. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?" Yeah, no, you go.
You're all good, man. You're all good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got no pictures, no video, anything like that. But I've got it all right here.
Yeah, man.
All right here,
For sure. It's in more times than I can count in the sport, you have those holy shit moments, I can't believe type of things. And my big one with Omar was after I'd been in the sport, 26 years, the first time that I'm sitting in Siang Bochi with him helping do stuff on the ground for Everest Skydive, hanging out with Omar, shooting the shit, watching canopies land around all these mountains. And you just can't not just how am I gotten this lucky that I'm getting to see this and do these things with these amazing people who are just like, yeah, man, come on, help out. Let's have some fun. It's just, it's gotta.
Well, that and of itself, and I guess that's a bonus to the comparison between where I mentioned these other sports and stuff like that, because they're so reachable.
Yes.
Where some of those things, the superstars in the other, professional sports and things like that, what are the chances that you're going to be over there, bumping elbows with those guys?
Exactly. Yeah, there's not too many high school basketball players that are
best of the freaking world, the best of the best. And like I said, whenever I met the Flyboys, just as soon as I met them, it's like, oh, these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a high school basketball player out there that's going to find himself hanging out with LeBron James. It just does that kind of stuff doesn't happen. But in skydiving, it does.
Exactly.
I've had the opportunity to have, for lack of a better word, many of my heroes in the sport on the podcast because they're just that cool. They want to talk to skydivers about skydiving and share their love of the sport, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, totally. Totally, And then I love the opportunities we were talking about before, as far as jumping with the younger jumpers, things like that. It's a great experience. Something at some boogie, sunset loads going up. I see some empty slots on the plane. I see a couple of the LOs on there, a bunch of ninjas on this jump. So I put myself on the load, and I go back up, and I'm busy working on editing some of my photos. And I come back down to see what ninjas I'm going to jump with. And I see this guy looking at the board, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. And long story short, I find out like he's a young jumper. He's just getting back into the sport. He's only been tried free flying like twice before.
Sure.
Stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I'll go jump with you. I'll go jump with you. And he didn't even know who I am. Not that I'm anybody, or anything, but and so we go out and do this jump, man. And it was so I kind of, was helping him along point, giving some pointers of like sit flying and stuff. So he comes out and he's holding the sit fly position. But he's just flailing flailing. He's flipping through it, stuff like that. And at one point, I got a shot as he was literally like flailing through the position, thing. He ended up finally holding it for a couple seconds later in the skydive. But I get this shot of him, and it looks like he's just solid with this thing. He's got this grin from one ear to the other, sunset, all this shit, man. And I got down and I made a square version of it to have for his Facebook. And literally 10 minutes after landing, I handed him a 4x6 print of this photo of the thing, man. And it's just, dude, what that meant for him,
Of course. Of course, man. That hangs on his wall to this day, guaranteed.
No, absolutely, and it hangs on to, in my mind, this things, all these other ninja jumps I've done, these epic things with these, top free flyers, in the sport, those are great. But moments like that, that thing, taking that younger jumper and boom, he's getting back in. And that's the kind of thing I was saying before. Now, dude, he's fired up. He's dedicated,
Yeah.
He's going for it.
He's the next team member of the up and coming Flyboys or the next Olaf or you never know, because he went out and got to do a jump with somebody that just gave him that extra spark, which is amazing.
Yeah. So, I have friends that do that too. I love that.
So people want to come out and jump with you. They want to get a haircut. They want to hang out. They want whatever it is that Raymond Adams is spreading out there. How do they find you, whether it be social media or where you're traveling? How do they track you down?
All right. Well, in social media, I'm on Facebook, Raymond Adams. I got Raymond Adams Imagery as well as my professional page, but I hardly ever do that. I don't like that platform as much. But
sure.
On Instagram, Raymond Adams Imagery. My next big skydiving event that I'm going to is Invasion, Skydiving Sebastian, over 2 years. So yeah, come out to that, guys. That's always a good one. So I was there last year, incredible, got some awesome jumps, and sometimes the weather can be hit and miss, but the party is always a hit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Raymond, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to sit down with me today. And I want to tell you right now, we got to have a round 2, because I know I've not even scratched the surface 1/100th of the stories, and I want all of them. So let's make sure we do this again, because I guarantee people are going to love hearing it.
No, that sounds great, man. We'll have to do a lot of them, Chapel. and this is great, Chad. I really appreciate you. I was, and for me, it's morning. I've just woken up. I've been a little intimidated, how I'm going to come across, what I'm going to be able to say. But no, this has been great.
No, man, it's really been fantastic. And make sure the next time, because you'll probably see him before I do, give Junior a big hug for me. Say hello to everybody that I know. And if they don't know me, say hello for me anyway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, likewise.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you guys soon.
See ya. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.